It's match day, and it's a big one. It's a big match. I mean, it's not a big game in terms of the context of West Ham's season. Let's be honest. It doesn't really matter, really, because we're not going down. We're not really fighting for anything other than pride and positions I've talked about. But it's a big game for Graham Potter. Let's get it right. Potter's got to produce a much better performance today. The last thing we need is more negativity. I mean, my word, this club needs a lift. We need that lift, that bounce. I talked about it in the preview yesterday. It's a big game for Graham Potter, and I really do hope we can get that lift, just a bit of enjoyment back to watching West Ham again. And I'm really hopeful we get that today. I really do hope that is the case. Before I get into the video, though, which is basically about not about the game, it's about the ownership of the club. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. It takes 2 seconds to do so. We really do appreciate it. And also, of course, it may well be that you're watching this and you've been watching videos for ages and you're not a subscriber. So if you can click that subscribe button, we do appreciate it. And also that thumbs up, because that is what it's like. All those like buttons, they really do help us to grow and attract another new people to our channel. So yeah, we really do appreciate it. So if you can do that, that'd be great. Also, before I get into the video, the letter. I sent out a letter. People who know the channel know we sent out a letter to Karen Brady and the football club regarding the wall, the dreaded wall that I sit right by it. It's on the west stand, right by between the west stand bottom corner or the bottom tier between the away fans, and it's just hate it. Can't stand the bloody thing. Want it taken down. There's videos on it. I won't go over it all again, but basically we sent off that letter. That's now been, I think, about 3 weeks now, and we have chased the club. We've again been reassured Karen Brady is going to officially respond to it. So let's wait and see. But we've been assured there is a response coming. So once that lands, I'll let you know straight away. I'll do a video on it. So yeah, just thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on that. Right, let's talk about these shares. This is a really interesting time, actually, for West Ham ownership. So let's just get a little bit of context of what's happened. So this has come from Sean Whetstone. This gives a little bit of background before I sort of go into where things are in terms of ownership. So David Gold left a will, which was dated 18th of August in 2021, which he left in a estate worth £137 million. That's gross, by the way. It's £127 million net. Not bad, is it? Not a bad little inheritance coming in. He passed away on the January 4th, 2023. His probate was only issued last week, so it was 117 weeks later since he died. It was reported originally he didn't have a will, but that's not the case. Gold gifted 100 grand to his sister, 50 grand to a friend, 50 grand to one of his employees, and 25 grand to 2 others. And then the proceeds, the rest of his estate, has gone into his beneficiaries, which basically is his daughter Vanessa. He's got son-in-laws Dan Cunningham and Nick, and then he's got his granddaughter Scarlett, and also his partner Leslie. Now, so that's where he's sort of his will is, and he's distributed things out. Now, the interesting thing, obviously, is now what we want to talk about is his shares in the football club. David Gold owned 25% stake in West Ham, which has now gone to his daughter. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, so let me just double check I'm right on that. Yeah, so yeah, Vanessa owns basically holding. She's the owning that 25% the football club. Now, it was hoped that we were going to see a bit of a takeover. This was going to an opportunity for possibly others, possibly Daniel Kretinksky, to buy those shares out. I'd understood it originally that Vanessa was interested in selling the whole lot. That isn't actually the case. So basically, the 25% stake that she owns is worth about £160 million. And now that the probate's over, now and basically that's complete, and then these shares are now available. Now, as far as we understand it, Vanessa is putting half of that up for sale, which is 12.5%. So it's worth about £80 million. As I say, no longer in probate, so they're available. They're available now. Now, as far as we understand it, it's always been a lot of confusion, isn't there, regarding Daniel Kretinksky, what his intentions are at West Ham. Is he coming for a full takeover? Is he just an investor? And I've always had the impression from Kretinksky, to be honest, that it was more investment. We know that Kretinski's got a huge amount of interest elsewhere across the globe. He's a massive investor. He just bought Royal Mail, so he's a busy man. He's not someone that's just going to solely dedicate himself to West Ham. He does have a lot of people working for him. It's not as if he works just alone. He has a team of people, and he's got people at West Ham. Now, if Kretinksky is to buy these shares, which we understand could well be the case, that would mean he would become the majority shareholder of West Ham, and it would effectively be in a takeover, effectively, because he would then have well, he'd have it wouldn't necessarily be a takeover, but he would have the ultimate say. He'd be the major shareholder and take over Sullivan. So Kretinski owns 27%. Now, if he used to buy the 12.5%, that would take him to 39.5%, which would then look likely to suggest that he is going to be doing a full takeover of the football club. David Sullivan, on the other hand, is on 38.8 at the moment. So if he was to buy the shares, that would take him up to 51.3. Again, that could well be the case. It could be that Sullivan feels like he wants to increase his stake at the club. I don't know at this stage. What's going to be interesting, though, is now this is the time now that we find out. This is the time where we see what the intentions are of not only Daniel Kretinksky, but David Sullivan, the Gold family, everything else. As I say, the Gold family, as we understand it, are putting half of the shares up for sale. 12.5% of this club is now for sale. We know as well that Karen Brady has been working to find investment. We also know that I believe that the intention was that Kretinsky, Sullivan, and the Gold family were all going to kind of pull in together to allow a 25% stake to be available for someone to come in and buy a quarter of the football club. I don't know how that's progressed. It doesn't seem like, from what we're reading, hearing, and all that kind of stuff, that's been overly successful in trying to find an investor. However, I will say that was also the case with Kretinski. That was very quiet. It wasn't as if it was really spoken about amongst the press, and we knew about there was a huge investment coming into West Ham. That was never the case. It just happened quite quickly, and it took everyone a little bit by surprise. It happened fast, so it could well be that West Ham have got things in place for a further investment, and they're just keeping it very, very quiet. I would suggest that's probably not the case at the moment, though. I don't feel confident in that. I would say that the most likelihood is it's going to be either David Sullivan increasing his stake further, or it's going to be Daniel Kretinksky. As I say, Daniel Kretinksky, if he does take these shares on, as I say, which are available now, he would then own more shares than David Sullivan, effectively become the majority shareholder. So this is a really, really interesting time for West Ham in terms of our ownership and where things are going. As I say, we've been in limbo for quite some time with these gold shares because of the probate. So it's big. I think this is a big period and really telling time for us now in terms of where we're heading. When asked about Kretinski, this was ex-WHO employee, there was a suggestion or a rumour going around that Kretinski was open to selling his shares. He was going to walk away from the club. We've been told that that's not the case. In fact, it's the opposite, that Kretinski wants to buy more. Now, this is where the proof's going to be in the pudding. And this has come from, obviously, quite senior sources. This has come from well-placed people within the club, that the suggestion is that Kretinski could buy more. I'm not saying that's absolutely factual. He's definitely going to be doing it now. But the suggestion is, no, there's no intention to walk away. Actually, there's more appetite. So it could well be that we have a new majority shareholder in Kretinski really soon. As I say, these are available to buy now. And I get the feeling it's not as if West Ham haven't had time to get this in place. Do you know what I mean? This probate's been going on for the best part of, over 2 years. So whatever's going to happen, I imagine's already been discussed and agreed upon. So the next period of time, which is between now, say, the next couple of months, maybe, we're going to see things happen quite considerably at West Ham in terms of ownership. And it's big. I think it's an interesting time. It's hard to call it exciting. I think this is just because I'm so scarred by this season. I'm finding anything West Ham related very hard to be excited about. I'm just a bit drained, I think, of the football club at the moment. But that's not to suggest that we're not going to get some quite interesting, possibly, as I say, loose term, exciting news when it comes to ownership, because we want to see changes at West Ham. Let's be honest. I've become, like many, very disillusioned with things at the football club of late. The wall obviously has been won, but that's a small matter. The reason I took that on was because, I'm not saying I just do it on my own. Obviously, other people are working as well on that. But the reason I was kind of focused on that, because I felt it was an easy win. It was like, well, can we just take this bloody wall down? Let's get the atmosphere better. But if you look at West Ham as a whole, it's just so much wrong with the club. There's so much wrong with this football club. It's frightening. I want to do a video on the training ground. I've talked about it once before, a couple of years ago, but I want to do a bit more on that now. I feel like that's the next focus, I think, as fans as well. I'm just getting exhausted with the fact that we're just such a tin pot run football club at times. We shouldn't be. Left our home to rent a stadium, which saves us a fortune, and yet we've got porta cabins as a training facility. I'm just sick and tired of it. And obviously that's further increased my frustration after watching what Bournemouth have just done. Look at our wonderful training facility, £35 million or something. I think they spent on it. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing that with all the billions of pounds that apparently we've got? In terms of ownership at this football club. Daniel Kretinksky, multi-billionaire, David Sullivan, and everybody else involved. Why can't they operate and go, right, let's get... It's really important. Do you know what I mean? I know I'm going a little bit off topic here, but it's really important that we get things like this right. And so when I'm hearing now about these shares, I'm desperate to see change. I've got to be honest, I really do not want to see David Sullivan increase his stake. I really want to see it go to Kretinksky. Not because I'm sitting there going, wow, I've been so impressed by Kretinksky. There's nothing to be impressed by, really. He hasn't really done anything as far as we see on the face of it, because he's an investor. He's got people at the club. I'm sure there's been some improvements behind the scenes in things, how things have been operating. I'm sure there have been in terms of his influence. But I feel like if Kretinksky is to go and buy these shares, if Kretinksky comes in and says, yeah, I'm having them, I think then what it does, it builds confidence that this guy's got a real interest in West Ham and really wants to take things forward. And I think like it would just breathe some life into this football club a bit, because we need it. We really need it. And that's on and off the pitch, as I say. So yeah, that's where things are at the moment. I do believe that things are going to happen soon. So I'm hoping that we get some more news on this and things start to drum up and we can obviously talk about it in a little bit more detail. But yeah, certainly one to watch. And the fact now these shares are available and for sale, I think it's not exciting, but certainly an interesting time. But anyway, fingers crossed for today. Come on, your minds.